Hello and welcome. I see we're now live for our next installment of our feature focus series. Today we'll be looking at the approval feature for the collected data items. My name is Anya. I'm on the customer success team here at Tola Data, and I'm joined by Malta. If you want to say
Hello,
hello there.
everybody. Hello, everybody. Great to see you. Also from Tolo Data.
Yes, it's great to have our Malta as our special guest today. Usually it's myself or one of my colleagues, Sive. So it's great to have you joining us today, Malta, to run through this new feature. I think we'll give it another 30 seconds for people to join and then we can kick off. So as I said, this is the next installment in our feature focus series. We did these for the past year, so kind of delving deep into a feature and discussing it from everything from setting up projects right through to our new features. So now we have covered all our features, so we're just releasing these with our new features that we have. So we will have an upcoming one on our indicator library, but yes, it's great to have you all join us today. So with that, I see a few people have joined. I will bring up this Mentimeter screen. So throughout this, it can be as interactive as you like. If you want to get involved, you can go to menti.com and enter that code 661403, or just pull up your device and scan that QR code. And that way then you can come in and ask questions. And at the end, we will pull up your questions and we can have a discussion around them. So you can pull that up now and ask questions throughout. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Malta for a brief introduction on the feature, and then we'll go into a live demo of the feature.
Thanks a lot, Anya. Yeah, we're very happy today to present you the collected data approval feature. It is a feature that we've been asked for by clients many times and one that has been high on our priority list. And we're really excited to have developed it and made it available for certain clients. We'll get to that later. So what the feature basically does, if the feature has been activated for an organization and then for a given indicator, it means that the results of that very indicator, which we call the collected data items, that a collected data item only influences the indicator's actual value, that is all the calculation. It only influences the numbers if the collected data has been approved. So the numbers of the collected data item only affect the indicator's total value if the collected data item has been approved, the respective one. That in a nutshell is the idea, and there is many layers to it, and we'll go through those today. But in terms of the general idea, it doesn't get more complicated. Anya, sorry, if you could go back to the previous slide for a second, please. Thank you. Just wanted to say that the free feature is highly customizable. You can customize it to the needs of your own organization. You can even customize it to the needs of a specific project within your organization. And you can even customize it for a specific indicator. For some reasons, the approval workflow at that specific indicator should be different from, let's say, the approval workflow in other parts of the project or in other parts of your organization. And in terms of why, the feature fosters data quality and learning. Yeah, Anya, maybe to the next slide. Thank you. Where does it sit? The feature is mostly used in the indicator section. That's where it's being applied. For collected data. Since it has to do with collected data, the feature is available for non-aggregated indicators. So there at the source, you kind of verify the results and approve them. That is the idea. In terms of settings, as so many other settings, settings can be done in the admin console. So these are the two main parts where the feature is active. Why did we create the feature? We created the feature because it adds another element of control in terms of which data actually influences indicators' actual values, and thus everything that in Tola Data automatically follows from it, meaning aggregation values, exports, reports, dashboards. In essence, everything in Tola Data in terms of numbers can be traced back to collect data items. So that we felt that this is where you would want to have the most control. And this is why we added the approval feature at this level. So it's for enhancing control and accordingly, of course, data quality. It's that data quality, that verification aspect, which is also very important to us. Within that, we wanted to design it in a way that is not just only yes, no, but something that also really allows learning within teams, within projects, because we believe having numbers is one thing, but like all the elements of learning together, growing together, feedback culture, that is very much to the core of Toledata as well. And so that's what you're going to see, that this feature is built in a way where you can really provide a lot of feedback to each other and kind of also incentivizes a positive feedback culture. And with that, I hand over to Anya.
Thanks, Malta. So now that we had a look at it as kind of in a nutshell and why it was created, we're going to look at now kind of an overview of how that feature actually performs. So it ensures full control of your data, and once it's activated, every collected data item within that indicator has to undergo that process. So once it's activated, it's an interactive process. It can go through various rounds, and that approval process is then repeated for each result that is finalized in the indicator as well. So the workflows can be customized, and then users always knows the results and the current stage the approval process is in. So you see that little image there on the right-hand side. This is what it looks like in your indicator plan. So even by looking at it, you will get a quick overview of how the stages of the approval process is going. If it's orange, it still means it's going through that process. Green means it has finished the process, and that result would have been updated and reflected in the indicator total, or red icon means it's not yet approved. There is different settings that you can apply, and these can be for the entire organization. You can activate it for an individual project or for each indicator. Org admins have the power to do this, and they also have the power to switch it on and off and decide who else in the organization has the power to switch it on and off. So to summarize and sort of repeat yourselves a little bit, no matter what those settings are, the effect is always the same. So the value of the collected data item will only be updated once it's through all those processes, through all those layers, and then finally approved, and this will be reflected in the final figure. So this is what it looks like for a team member who is seeking approval. Once it's been activated, each collected data item must be submitted for review. Once it is submitted for review, that item is going to be locked, so no edits can be made, at least for the time being. If you are an approver, what that process looks like, once somebody has asked you to approve a collected data item, you now have three options. So the first option is to approve it, second is to request changes, and the third is to not approve it. We're going to look at each of those in a bit more detail before we go into the demo and see it in action. But the approving process, so if it is approved by me, let's say in this instance, it will now go on to the next step. That next step is either the final approval process, if there is only one layer of approval added to the indicator, or it will move on to the next person in my organization to be approved by them. The next scenario is if a collected data item in an indicator is not approved, and that ultimately rejects the collected data item, so it will show up as not approved, and the final total in the collected data indicator will not be updated. The third scenario then is if I, as a team member, have been asked to approve something and I want to request changes. Maybe there have been some updates in my organization and the data doesn't look correct. So then it moves back to the collected data editing stage. And then at this stage, edits can be made to the collected data item, and a decision can be retaken by the user who initially took it. So I hope everybody's taken all that in, because we're now going to have the live demo portion. So I'll hand back over to Malta. And this is going to be slightly different, where there is an approver and a person seeking approval. So myself and Malta will both be going through this together with you.
Thanks, Anya. If you could confirm whether my screen can be seen.
I can see that.
Great, thank you. So now we are in Toledata, a real demo environment. We can see that we are in the indicator section of a workspace. And today we are going to work with this indicator that we've created specifically for this session. It's a classic non-aggregated indicator as you would know it. It only has one slight difference. It has a tab called Approval Settings. And in this tab, the approval feature has been activated for this indicator. And I think that's an important thing to mention. We've designed the approval feature in a way that you don't have to use it if you don't want to. And you don't have to use it for every single indicator. Meaning, let's say you have 20 indicators in your project and only 10 of those are, for various reasons, so important or so critical, so crucial that you would like data only to be you want data to undergo the approval process, then you can set it up in such a way that the approval feature is only active for those 10 crucial indicators, but not for the other ones. So for this indicator, it has been activated. There are some settings down here. We'll get to settings and what they mean precisely later, because it's a very very powerful feature. In a nutshell, we set up the indicator in such a way that Anya can approve results. And as said, we're going to have a look at other settings later. So let's first show you an example of a really simple workflow, how it could look like. So I'm now a person who is supposed to add data against this indicator. Let's just a simple example. Let's say we had 30 training participants in training in December. And I'll scroll below. And those of you familiar with Toledata may know this very well. In an indicator where the approval feature has not been activated, you would just see a save button. Now that we have the approval feature activated for this indicator, we have two different options. We can save the item without submitting for approval yet, which means that we may want to do some changes, but we don't want to submit it yet. Or we have the second option, which is called Save and Submit for Approval. And that is what I'm going to do. I'll click here. I then have the option to add a submission note. For example, I want to say, please review the item, and I can click on Submit. And then the item is saving. And you can see here that in the spinning icon, that with regards to the approval process, this item now is being saved. As Anya said initially, in the collected data item list, you'll see for each collected data item a color, and orange is indicating this item now is in approval process. We can also see that here for details. If we click here on expand, there's various things I can see now. First, I see that the item is in approval process. It's in the first round. We'll get to that later, what that means. And I can see that the next step can be taken by Anya. I can also see that I, as Malta, who just submitted that item, can no longer edit it because I've submitted it for review. If I wanted to, I could withdraw it for further edits for right now, but that is another step. For now, let's just see how the process plays out. And now I, as the person who submitted for review, I'll hand over to Anya, to her screen, so that she shows us what she can do. And as you can see, I can only close here. I don't have further options. Anya, how does it look for you on the approving side of things?
Thanks, Malta. So as you can see then, I've just added my view of Toledata to the screen as the approver. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scroll down and select this collected data item. I can see that I am the person who's taking the next steps. Again, a lot of information, like the round and the level of approval. So if I scroll down here, I can now take the approval decision. And when I select that drop down, you can see there are the three options to approve, do not approve, or request changes. In this scenario, I want to approve this decision, and I can add a note if needs be, and then save that. You will see now that the total actuals have updated and this green icon has appeared, so that has now been approved and added to the final result.
Thanks, Anya. We're now gonna do another example, this time with a slight difference. Let me just, update that one. So now we are going to show you how the process looks like if Anya had not approved the item right away. So let me add let's assume there was another training. This time we had 25 participants and training that took place last week. I'm just going to save and submit for approval. And now handing back to Anya, as we can see on my screen, we can see that the actuals is 30. That's the item that Anya approved a minute ago. The item I just added, the 25, that is not included in the actual value yet, because as said, it hasn't undergone the approval process yet. It hasn't been approved yet. That's why the actual values remains at 30, even though I've added the 25 further participants to our indicator. So Anya, how does it look like on your end? What are you going to do with my second item?
Great. Well, I'm not sure how it's looking, so I might need to double check it. So now I'm back to the approver screen. I'm just going to pop into that tab and refresh my page. So in this instance now, when I scroll down, I can see the next collected data item has been added. I can also see it's in the approval process. When I select that and scroll down, I want to now take the approval decision, but in this case, I'm not sure, maybe the results don't look right to me. So I'm going to request changes. And you can see there a note is required. So please review new data. And once I've now saved that, you'll see this icon has disappeared and it's back to the editing stage. I think I'll pass back to Malte now and he can continue with the process.
Thanks, Anya. So I'll go back to the item. You can see that now that Anya has sent it back to editing stage, I'm able to make changes. So maybe I probably didn't provide enough evidence. So if I wanted to, I can now again add a file here, or I could be writing a note. The training was the number can be traced back to something, the evidence added or something, and I can resubmit. I added further context. This is the message I'll send to Ella. Please review again. And I can resubmit that to Anya. And now we're going to see on my screen that the item now goes back to the approval process, meaning that now I can't edit it until now Anya does something. But let's see if she's. I hope she's happy now with the results. Anya, back to you.
So back now to my approver screen, so I can see Malta has edited the data. And so I'm just going to refresh my screen to reload his edit. And once I select on that, I can see now it's back in the editing stage, or pardon me, not editing stage, the approval stage. And I can even enter the approval log if needs be to check up on the different stages of it if I was questioning or forgetting the stage it was in, or any comments that have been added. So if I go back into the details tab, I can see his new comment. I can see he's went back and checked his data. I want to take the approval decision, and I can either then approve, do not approve, or request changes. So in this case, I will approve again. And once that loads, you can see then my total actuals has now updated, and I'm happy with the progress of the project.
Thanks, Anya. So this is the process in a nutshell, or how the basic feature works. Now we would like to show you a few further details of that feature. And I think for that I'll go to the admin console. So as you have seen, the feature here in the example that we showed has a very basic approval workflow, but it can be actually super customized. So now we're in the admin console, meaning that now I'll use my power as an org admin for setting this. Of course, we have the general setting, such as activating the feature for an organization unit. We can also specify which permission group is allowed to activate the feature for a given indicator. We've set that to org project and project admin, but you could also be empowering the added users to do so, or only the project admin. This is, of course, entirely up to you. Then we can define default settings, how we would like a general approval process to look in our organization. You can even customize the labels if you want to. And then we can add various approval levels. And within the approval levels, we can say how many approvals are needed for that specific approval level to be passed. So to give an example, we could say we want to have 2 approval levels, as we have here, the project level approval and headquarters approval. And let's say that on project level approval, we only want, it's enough for 1 approval to be given for this level to be passed. 1 positive approval, that is. So that's always the question, how many levels within a given level, how many number of approvals are needed for this level to be passed? And then the third setting here for each respective level is the, of course, very relevant question, who is allowed to give this approval decision on this very level? So here you can apply a role-based logic where you say, okay, people with a certain role, such as all org admins or all project admins or all added users, are supposed to take the decision on this level here. Or you can say it's role-based, where you say, okay, I don't want to nominate a role, but rather an individual. So in the example here, there are 6 of us who are allowed to take a decision on this approval level, or you could be mixing that. So what you see here as well, you can set it up in such a way that more people are allowed to take a decision than approvals are needed. So in this case, it means it doesn't matter whether me or Anya, Rosina, Hannah, Saif, or Aoife take the decision. As long as one of us does and positively passes that level, the decision for this level will be positive, so it moves on to the next level. You can also make it really tight, where you say, okay, we want, let's say, 3 approvals, and we design it in such a way that Anya, Rosina, and me have to take the decision. And since 3 approvals are needed, and we've nominated 3 approvers, it literally means that each one of us has to give the approval. Otherwise, the item does not move to the next stage. Next stage, meaning here, headquarters approval. Here we kept it easy and say 1 approval needed, and it's the org admin. And you can mix that however you want that. In the most basic form, that's the form we use for the example we showed you earlier. We had just 1 level with 1 person approving, and 1 person, in that case that was Anya, being entitled to do so. But you can mix it 1 level, 5 approvals, 3 levels with 1 approval each. No matter which combination within that matrix you want to pick, that is all fine. So this is the general setting of the approval workflow. Now, of course, you may be asking, okay, how do I kind of customize it depending on the different projects that I'm, or different indicators? And this is where we follow the classic Toledata project logic, where product logic, where we said we want it to be easy for the org admin to remain entirely in power of this feature, but the org admin can voluntarily kind of give up power. What do we mean by that? By this, we mean that the org admin can say, okay, I've defined this general workflow for my organization, but actually I want to allow projects, workflow for ones, Tola Data projects, the workspaces we have, I want those to set up their own workflow. So you as an org admin can allow your different projects, your different workspaces to deviate from those standards you've set here for the organization unit. You can even specify whether you as org admin want the only one to be able to kind of deviate from the org unit standards, or if you want to empower the project admin to do so. And the very same logic also goes for indicators, where you can say, okay, I want to empower my users to deviate from my org-wide approval settings, the ones shown here. I want to empower them to deviate from them and set own workflows, approval workflows at indicator level. So in this combination, in a nutshell, it means you can customize it very detailed to an indicator, to a project or an org unit, but you can also decide to apply defaults. Yeah, we're happy to take questions on that later, but for now, I'll hand back to Anya.
Thanks, Malta. I think it's great how customizable it is while still being complex. So thanks for that. It really cements in after the presentation. So to go back then, just to highlight the key benefits of the feature, we're looking at accountability and compliance. Because each collected data item has to go through those different rounds and reviews, it reduces the risk of inaccuracies. It also can validate and verify the data entries for the secure data, and just enhances the overall data accuracy within your organization. Another key benefit is the workflow and streamlining and efficiency. So as you've seen, it provides a structured pathway for your data validation, and then helps in speeding up those decision-making processes, and very importantly, avoiding bottlenecks as well. Finally, then, the data accuracy and quality assurance, which is so vital to organizations. It creates this transparent and traceable record of the review process. There's accountability within organizations, as well as meeting compliance requirements. And then again, just demonstrating the integrity and reliability to your stakeholders or regulatory bodies. There is a pricing structure around this. So there's an introductory offer at the moment for €79 per month per organization for this feature. I know the developers, and we're working very hard in developing this. Finally, you'll see there the Menti code at the bottom of the screen, and if you want, you can use your device to pull up the QR code, and we'll have a few minutes for questions now. I'm just going to switch over to that tab to present, so please feel free to add any questions you have now. Great, I can still see. Brilliant. So no questions in yet. No news is good news, I suppose. We'll give it another minute or two and see does anything come in. If there is no questions and you're watching back, feel free to always get in touch with support@toladata.com or myself, Anya@toladata.com. We'd be very happy to either bring you through the feature again, or we have some online resources about this feature up on our website as well, if there is any outstanding questions. I think we'll give it another 30 seconds. I'll put this down to your world-class explaining of the feature, Malta.
Thank you. And as you said, we're always happy to answer questions. If you're rewatching that, just get in touch with us. Very happy to take any questions. And actually, I'm super curious as well about your feedback. What's your experience in using the feature? We've developed in really close collaboration with several key clients of ours. And I'm super excited to see how organizations will use that feature. And maybe one thing that we that we didn't show yet. You saw there's a highly interactive part in terms of like review and changes, and this is enhanced even further by a feature that we've added 2 months ago, namely the discussion and commenting feature. You may have seen that in your Tola Data account. Now on various different levels, at collected data level, at indicator level, at organization or project level, you're able to write comments, get feedback, mention your colleagues who will be notified by email. So the combination of the approval feature with that discussion feature really makes for a strongly increased feedback process happening in Tola Data.
It's very interactive. I'm noticing clients are already using discussion feature at length, so it's a great addition, I think. Okay, with that, Malta, I think I'm happy to leave it there. Again, get in touch with us if you do have any questions. But other than that, thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you at the next feature focus.
Thank you very much. All the best. See you.